It's not the signing women.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Felix, and we're here for College in Real Life series. With me, my guest host is...
My name is Casey. I'm an advisor from the Honors Academy.
Welcome.
My name is Javier Vargas, and I'm a STEM advising.
He's our guest host today, talking to us about financial aid appeals, which is our topic today. So we want to just thank you all for joining us. We are putting on this program to give you more information about what's happening here at San Antonio College campus, all the events that will be happening this week, and just all in general that's happening all the time. So welcome to our show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And do you have anything you want to add for this week?
I want to say that if anyone is, I'm going to make a plug for the Honors Academy here. If anyone is interested in being an honors student, feel free to pass by Chance Academic Center. I'm located in 122. Love to chat with you guys and meet you and see if you are a candidate for our program.
Cool.
Yeah.
Honors program does good work.
We do.
Yes.
Great faculty.
Yeah, it helps us a lot as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We love to send out students and see them be integrated into honors and then go and see you instead of us.
Sharing the wealth.
That's right.
I like it. That's good.
Okay.
Well, we're going to be talking this morning about the transfer fair. The transfer fair is going to be happening tomorrow from 9 to 12 at the gym in gym number 2. And if you haven't heard about that, you should really go. Don't miss class to go, but you should go because it's going to be fantastic. There's going to be over 30 universities in attendance, so make time to go. Find out where you're going to be going to university at. Where did you go to university?
So I went to Texas Lutheran my first 2 years, and then I was a transfer student. I did transfer to Abilene Christian University, and it was a little bit of a rocky transition for me. Just everyone already kind of had their place, and so I was finding out a lot of things for the first time, feeling very brand new. People had their cliques. So transfer can be a scary thing for students. I have a lot of students who will go on. I had one in particular who was really nervous about transferring to Texas State. And so I think things like the transfer fair are really important because students can kind of get some basic information that they can use, and then when it does come time for transfer, hopefully they're not going to feel as jarring of an experience. So
right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the transfer fair tomorrow.
Good, me too.
Yeah.
I suggest to students to always, whether we have the fairs or not, I always suggest to them to, if they know where they're going to transfer to, try to get a hold of somebody, go to their website. So once they transfer, they'll at least know they'll have somebody there that they can talk to. They won't be so unfamiliar
Isolated.
with the territory. And maybe if they can, they don't have to go with a group. Go and visit the university or the college with their parents or, with friends. And so they can get a sense of where everything's at. That way, when they get there, it's less anxiety for them.
Right. And I think also the important thing is to make sure that all the classes that they take here will for sure transfer to that university that they're going to go to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's also a good feeling when you go over there and you see that you're already, a sophomore or, whatever they have over in the universities. And they see that all their hard work over here paid off, so they have this much already accomplished. It's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that our transfer advisors do a good job of putting the fair together. They have all the universities in town come. And I know that when I went last year, I had a lot of questions, even as an advisor, over prerequisites for nursing programs, for example. So I was able to spend time with people from Baptist Health Professions. I was able to spend time with people from UT Health Science Center. So they're very specific on who they invite to come.
Right.
And so it's again a lot of good information for students.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work on their part, and as far as the students, if they have class, I know, at least in my experience, I know that a lot of professors actually encourage the students to attend. Students can ask their professor, let them know show them a flyer, let them know what they're going to why they need it and what they're going to be doing. And I'm sure a lot of professors will be more than willing to let the students go and attend the transfer fair.
Yeah, I heard that the student development instructors are sending their students over there as well, so they can get that information.
Yeah, it's always good to get to know more where you're going to be going.
Right. Yeah.
You guys have been advising here for a few years longer than I have, so you've probably had more experience just attending the fairs. What are some other things that students can hope to gain from attending? What are some other benefits?
I think I'm just going to be honest here that I really enjoy the free stuff that the universities give because they give out free pens,
swag.
free pencils, T-shirts, like all that kind of good stuff. But I think in addition to the free stuff, which is very valuable, students have an opportunity to meet somebody, like you mentioned before, from that university. So I have a name, a number, an email that I can contact this person with. So if I have questions in the future, I can reference them. And if I'm not too sure about something, I can say, okay, well, my advisor said this. I want to make sure it's true and hear it from your mouth so I can make sure that it's true. So I don't just assume that it's going to be true once I get there to the university. So, yeah.
Exactly. Also, getting to there are some things that sometimes we have ideas or we hear it from some friend told a friend about this university,
Yeah.
and there's this place where you go and you get all your meals for free. Things, just those urban legends.
Yes.
So it's good to meet somebody from the university or the college and have those totally broken down, saying that will never happen, no free food. And then then you know that you have to pack your lunch when you go to university. But things like that, you get all those extra information that you could sometimes you can't get that on their website.
Right.
So when you have somebody there and you're talking to them, and my experiences have been that everybody's wonderful. Actually, first time I went, I saw 3 people that I had gone to high school with, and they were working at different universities.
cool.
But it's good to know. There's
Cool.
there's always something that they know extra, and I think it's good for the students to know that.
Yeah.
I have like a range of students, right? Working with the Honors Academy, I have students who know the information that they need to find out. They're confident, they can go in, gain access to that information. But I also have some students who are maybe a little bit more timid or just unsure about what information they should be asking. So what would be some good questions for students to ask as they're going and approaching these representatives?
Well, I always like to tell my students, ask the important questions. How much is tuition going to be? What kind of scholarships do you have available to the individual based on whatever program they're going to get into? How much is parking? That kind of a thing,
That's
how
an
much
important one.
Yeah. How far do I need to park to get the best parking? And then starting off with those 3 important questions, I think, is a good place to
so that's
start.
parking. I never really thought about that until I went to UTSA.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there it is.
Right.
So So it's very good. Also, especially about the scholarships. What types of scholarships are they? Merit scholarships? Are need based? Are they both? When to apply for scholarships? When to apply for the university to be accepted.
Right.
So I know it's going to be probably on the flyers they provide, but it's always good to get it. If you sometimes when we read it, we might miss some things. So if you hear them tell you, it's usually you retain it. At least I do. I need to hear it a few times before it sticks in.
Yeah, and what I like about that, going to the transfer fair, they'll walk away with something, and hopefully, you just don't put it in the backseat of your car and lose it forever and throw it away when you clean out your car again. But you'll use that information to see, okay, if I'm going to start in the spring semester, I need to have my application in by the fall of blah, blah, blah. What is the minimum guaranteed admissions based on transferring with more than 30 hours? Those kinds of questions. Do I have a name and a number? What kind of scholarships are available? What kind of tuition am I looking at? So I think walking away with something tangible and having a name and a number, contact information is really important. So.
Exactly, and they have an idea of what they need to do, when they need to do it.
Right.
What else that they can prepare for, and but there's some universities and colleges that have, they have basically. The early bird gets a worm, so
Yes.
they have this deadline. They're not real deadlines. They're just, if you get it by then, you'll be ahead of everybody else. And right now the word completely escapes me, but priority deadlines.
Yes.
So
Priority deadlines,
So those are the ones to look for. It doesn't mean that you miss the boat. It just means that you do it at that time.
Right.
I know when I work at Financial, I was priority deadlines for everything, and that way we know that we have that information, and we tell you, okay, yeah, it's going to be processed. So that's another thing that we want.
I'm glad. So two things before, if I can interrupt real fast. So
Absolutely.
the Transfer and Career Center, which is located on the first floor of the Moody Learning Center, has these great little handouts where they've broken it down for the local colleges, the location, a point of contact for the people, but they also have the cost of the application fee, which I think is important.
Oh, great.
Because when you do the Apply Texas for these universities, if it's not a private institution, the public ones you have to pay an application fee for. So this is good information to know how much that's going to be, so I can have those funds are available whenever I do the application.
Yeah, it's very good, and also depending on the financial aid status, some students that are on financial aid might get those paid for. So it's another
Right,
good
exactly,
question
yeah.
to ask the college representatives. Okay, when do I get my application fee waived if
yeah.
I'm on financial aid? So that would be a great question. I'm glad you brought that up.
So speaking of financial aid, Javier, next Wednesday, the 31st of October, is going to be the last day to submit a financial aid appeal.
Yes.
So that's why we have you here today, because we love your company, but also because we want to learn more about the financial aid appeal process.
You're the guru.
Just
yes.
using me for my financial aid.
Among other qualities that you have. But you used to work in financial aid actually before you became an advisor. And
Yes, I worked there. I was an associate director for about 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And communication and customer service, which is, that's, to me, I love that because you get to get them ahead of time and tell them what's going on and give them information like this. We have, of course, it's going to be the deadline on the 31st.
Yes.
Right now, you still have time. The important thing is about the financial aid appeals, you've got to meet with your advisor first, from your institute. If you want to make an appointment, that would be ideal.
Right.
Because that way you know that you're not going to be waiting, 20, 30 minutes, so you can get your financial aid appeal done. Once we are done with the advisor, then the student goes on to do their part of the financial aid appeal. And this is one thing that I always recommend. I'm going to throw that in because I feel it helps students. There's a portion where the student's going to write, why they're on, the reasons for being on suspension, the educational goals, and the plan of action. So I would recommend before the student logs into their ACES to do their part of the appeal, go ahead and get on Word or whatever, software you're using to write that information, type it out. And then log in, because when you log in, there's going to be a little timer, 30 minutes, and those things drive me crazy.
Yes.
So I spend more time looking at the timer than doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that way you can go in, the stress will be less, and you can just cut and paste, and then check whatever else you have to check. Submit your appeal. After that, if you have any supporting documentation, let's say that unfortunately there was a car accident one semester and you had to drop all your classes because you couldn't get to school. Well, if you have a police report, or if there was, an illness, or anything that you have documentation, anything that you said on your explanation, if you have documentation, that'll be so helpful for the student's appeal. It'll be excellent to go ahead and submit that. So after the student submits their financial aid appeal, they have 7 days to go to the financial aid office and submit that supporting documentation.
When you say 7 days, is that 7 calendar days or 7 business days, like Monday through Friday?
It's Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
So we're closed on so it's business days. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you come and you do, which we have, if the appeal gets done on the 31st, which we know it happens,
Yes.
then you still have 7 days to submit supporting documentation.
Okay, good.
Got it.
Okay, so that's one thing that's good for students to know, and of course for advisors. I'm sure everybody.
I knew that. I think.
So, and a quick thing also about the financial aid. Remember when you go on financial aid suspension, they'll put it on they put it on the students' ACES portal. You know, you go to financial aid, you go to status, and it'll tell you there if you're on suspension
That's
or why.
on the my page of the ACES?
On the financial aid.
Okay.
So you click on student, then go to.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
So be on the and pretty much everything. And financial aid does send emails to the students. College email, you know, and financial aid being that it's a district entity and it's also federal funds, it's very rare when anybody from financial aid will communicate with a student through their personal email, students' personal email.
Right.
So absolutely, students need to be checking their student email,
Right.
all right? Because that is one of, and it'll be there. I can guarantee you, because I had them. Nobody told me. I used to have nightmares about that. I wake up sweating, saying, "I told you," and then I realized, okay, I'm not in the office, but
Right.
they are there. The information's there. It's all on the web page. If you have questions, just go by and ask. Go at the financial aid office. Go to their website. Call.
So for any students listening who are, you know, wondering what is a financial aid appeal, in order to appeal, students have to have been missing one of three things, correct?
Yes.
Not completing 67% of the courses they attempt, and then not having a 2.0 GPA, and then not attempting 99 hours.
But after the 99 hours, it's called 99H. After they 125, that's what they call it. Once a student reaches 99 attempted hours at a junior college, because you know it takes 66, 67 hours to get an associate's, so the government says, okay, we'll give them up to 99, and after that, that's it, done in a junior college. They should already be graduating or transferring. However, that's one of the every college and university is required by the federal government, by the Department of Education, to have an appeal process. So even if you reach those 99 hours because you change your major, you can appeal. And yes, those are 67% completion rate, 2.0 GPA, and once you reach 99 attempted hours, then you go on suspension and you would have to appeal. Okay.
So when it comes to writing in the essays, right, sharing why or what happened, I had a student just yesterday who was telling me he was very emotional about it and very upset at the fact that he had started a couple of semesters ago, dropped all of his classes, withdrew and failed a couple, didn't come back the following spring, then came back again this semester, and he is just very upset at the fact that he's probably not going to be able to get aid for spring. So at the end of it, he tells me finally the reason: it was a girl. And so he just starts, he didn't cry, but he was a little upset. So for a student in that kind of situation, what advice would you have for them in terms of writing, right, all of the statements that they're going to have to fill out?
When I was in the financial aid, not only, I wasn't just being there and giving information. Actually, at that time, for a good while, a few years or more, I was reviewing financial aid appeals, and even taking them in. When I tell the students in this situation, I mean, obviously it was an emotional hardship he was going through. So I would say just explain. At this time, I was with somebody, and I started well, and then things started to go bad, and then I was just, I was emotionally, I was completely out of it. Being honest in that. One thing that I wouldn't recommend. Sometimes students don't. Maybe they're nervous about what they say or what they're telling us, but they sometimes say, so you just write the reasons, and they would tell me, oh, I was just young and all I wanted to do was party.
Right.
And I said, well, yeah, it might be true. So I asked them, I said, were you working? Well, yes, I was working. Were you helping your family? Were you living with your parents? Yeah, I was helping around the house. I was working. I would help take care of my brothers or sisters. And I said, well, what about school? And he said, well, sometimes they would change my shift so I couldn't get to study. And I said, well, that's what you put there. You don't put that you were young and you were partying. And it might be true to some extent, but students sometimes, or we don't realize sometimes, what we're doing, sometimes we minimize the work that goes of what we're surrounded by, taking care of brothers and sisters, or nieces or nephews. That's work.
It is.
But because you do it so much, you don't realize it. So sometimes they only focus on the fact that they were having fun and going out to parties and things.
Right.
So I let them know, just think about what you were doing. That's not everything you were doing. And then they finally, okay, yeah, that's true. I was helping my parents, and they realized that they were doing a lot more than what they thought they were doing.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's I used to see the appeals, and it was like 3 sentences, and I would say, so you're appealing for your financial aid. I said, do you think that's going to be enough? And I said, well, I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I explained to him, and then said, so what do you think now? I said, okay, let me go ahead and write something. And that's when they used to give them to us. Now they do it, of course, over the computer, but I still let them know. When I advise them, I ask them, so what happened? What happened here and here? Explain the semesters. I tell them, okay, it wasn't the fall of 14, the spring of 16, and, this one you didn't do very well. What was happening then? They tell me, and I say, okay, that's what you write, but make sure that you're specific about the semesters.
I think you bring up a good point, Javier, because it's true if a student's only going to write 2 or 3 sentences per area for the appeal, it could be hurtful to them, because if they don't get approved for the appeal, they can only appeal like once, I think. Is it per
It's once
item?
per semester.
Once per semester? So
exactly.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so it's going to be one time, and I'm glad you brought that up, because let's say you get approved. With every approval or denial, there is a message attached to that approval notice or denial notice.
Right.
So sometimes unfortunately, the student gets denied, but they tell them, okay, your appeal is denied. However, if you take at least 6 hours this semester, and you do well, then they'll tell them what they need to do as far as going to see the associate director, financial aid. But read those messages.
Right.
Okay. Sometimes a denial is not a horrible no never thing. They give you choices, and sometimes they say, okay, we're going to. It's denied, but if you go next semester and do well, then you get to appeal for that semester, because you only get once to appeal once. So there's different messages. The students, I would recommend, look at those messages. Don't just look as denied and leave it at that, because there is more to it than that. They're not cold-hearted. They give options.
I was going to say, it sounds like financial aid is willing to work with the student.
Exactly.
Based on what they say.
Exactly.
So,
They do. They absolutely do. So look at those whether it's an acceptance or a denial, and it's at the end of the spring semester when they run a program to see who's meeting SAP. Satisfactory academic progress. The satisfactory academic progress for financial aid and the SAP for academics is very different.
Yes.
In academics, you just have to have a 2.0 GPA.
Right.
Even though they're kind of called the same thing, satisfactory academic progress for financial aid is the 3 that we mentioned: 67%, 2.0 GPA, and not go over 99 attempted hours.
Yeah.
Got it.
So sometimes students are on academic suspension, but not necessarily on financial aid suspension. So there's some variables on special conditions, and just don't give up because you see suspension written somewhere in your ACES portal, because it can be 2 different things. 2 different parts.
So when in doubt, meet with your advisor.
Exactly.
I like that.
And the financial aid office does have financial aid advisors, so questions about financial aid, I highly recommend that you check their webpage and go to your financial aid office and just get those doubts out of your head.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, maybe a last question for Javier. What would your advice be for a student who gets denied their financial aid appeal and is uncertain of where they might come up with money to pay for the upcoming spring semester?
Well, I would recommend, like I said, read the denial, the denial message. If it says, for example, there's sometimes where they'll deny it, but if the student finishes the semester, with a 2.0 and 67%, there is a little option there that they have that they can go to the financial aid office. Actually, it tells them to do that. Okay, so that can be very good
Yes.
because in some cases it means that you go to the financial aid office and meet the person that it tells you to meet, and they will actually retroactively pay for that semester that you just paid for. All right.
That's cool.
So, and that those messages are important. Other than that, what I would say is check with the advocacy center. Here at SAP, we do have the advocacy center, and they're amazing. They're incredible. We're gonna talk about that, I guess, in a little while.
Yes.
Get there. Talk to the financial aid advisor and ask them. I know I was denied. What can I do? Is there any other options? There are some scholarships that you really don't have to have a FAFSA on file. There's some out there. So, fastweb.com is a great source of information for that. Cafe College. So there are some, sometimes you can get some help from the state, even though you're on suspension. It's rare, but it's out there. So I'd say look for that and don't give up. Even if you have to come a few semesters and pay out of pocket, we're not that expensive at all.
No.
So we're very affordable, and just remember you're doing it for you. So yeah, that's an obstacle, and it's a pretty big one. But the alternative to that, what is it? Just staying home or working
Right.
and letting your school go. And
Right.
and I wouldn't recommend that. I always recommend just keep on going with school, even if it's one class per semester. If that's all you can afford, then just do it, because you don't want to go to a job and you're making okay money, you get complacent, and then you forget about your education.
Absolutely.
Education, nobody can take it away from you.
It's true.
So don't throw in the towel. Keep going full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, even if you, at the end of every spring semester, like I was saying, is when they determine who's on suspension or not. So we're in the fall right now. So if you don't do well after this semester, don't be disheartened. You know that you're going to have to work extra hard in the spring, because at the end of the spring they're going to run that program, and so that's when your calculations come in. If if my GPA was a 1.9 this semester or 1.7, what grades do I have to make in the spring? So by the end of the spring that can be a 2.0. So start planning. That's the strategic thinking that you have to do to help you keep your financial aid.
Absolutely. Sounds like a time to maybe return to the mission statement that they start off writing their first
true.
semester, right?
That's
kind
true.
of regain some focus and purpose and direction, motivation.
And also using inside the ACES, the GPS tool, they have a GPA calculator, so they can play with that and see what term calculator they need to make for their existing grade point average, and then to see what they need as a bare minimum for those classes. Of course, with the focus of making a 4.0, the A in those classes. So,
Always.
Yeah.
Always aim for that 4.0.
Yeah.
Never for a 3.2, never.
Exactly.
If the university wants, a minimum of a 2.5, go for that 4.0. Go always go for the highest one, definitely.
And they can join Casey for her honors academy. So.
Woo!
Yeah, we're going to be sending more people to Casey.
Yeah, we'll come pep them up
Yes, definitely.
with our emotional intelligence workshops.
So, thank you for joining us and giving us your
Yes,
input
thank you,
about
Javier. Very insightful.
the financial aid appeals.
Anytime, let me know. And they're gonna on the financial website. They'll have the appeal dates for next fall, just in case. So they're always up there. Read their website; it's very informative, and take it easy on the financial aid, folks. There's our federal regulations that they have to follow, and it is they do get audited by the federal government and everything. So. Believe me, they wouldn't be there if they didn't enjoy helping, and it's just that there's limits to what they can do.
Exactly.
I was there. I was work study, and I worked all my way up to the associate director, and it was tough. It's some things that you feel you want to save the world, but the laws and regulations, and at the end they're good. They're helping everyone. So. Oh, and just be careful about getting student loans in a junior college. Just want to mention that you don't want to go into debt in a college where the whole year, the whole semester is going to be like 900,000, 900,000. I'm thinking about the lottery. It's going to be $1,100. So you don't want to be getting student loans in a junior college. Leave that for your
The 4-year.
your 4-year institution and masters and PhD.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Well, just as a reminder, tomorrow from 9 to 12 in the gym, number 2 is the transfer fair. So if you can, make that.
9 a.m. to noon, over 30 universities present.
Yes, exactly. And go for your free stuff as
And
well.
free stuff.
So don't forget that every Monday the president is talking on KSYM at 8 o'clock in the morning. So be sure to tune into that every Monday. And
All right, and we look forward to our show next week where we are going to be talking about spring registration.
yes, and so 2 points before we go real fast, if I
Yeah.
can. As Javier mentioned, the Student Advocacy Center, which is in the old Center for Academic Excellence building, which is right behind the SCOBY. Stop by over there if you need anything. San Antonio College cares about their students. Last numbers that we received this week were there are 20,356 students enrolled for this semester at SAC. And what that means is that's great for the numbers, but you're not just a number. You're a student, your advisors care for you, the president cares for you, all the administration, faculty, and staff care for you. So you are a person and not a number. So just know that there's resources available to you, free counseling if needed. Take advantage of all these things, transfer fair, free events that are going on. Yeah.
Stay plugged in with us, and we will continue to share resources as we come by them. We'll continue to talk about different places on campus that would be useful for you to be spending your time at. And if you do have any questions, you can email us.
Yes, and we'll have the email information for you all available hopefully by next week. So
Awesome.
yeah,
So all kinds of resources in the college, and there's a lot of people here that have been here a long time, and they'll help you. They'll know where to find things, where to get things done. Everything here is for the students. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for students. We were students ourselves, and we know what it's like. So it's help one, and you're helping a whole generation. So just keep that in mind.
yeah.
Great.
All right, so thank you for joining in and listening to us. If you have any questions, we'll get that email for you next week, and we'll see you next week. Have a great Monday.
Have a great Monday.
Have a safe Monday.
Safe.
So this is...